Welcome D&D players far and wide, thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about one of the simplest things you can do to improve your combats in D&D. Actually, this tip works for pretty much any tabletop role-playing game. The tip is, make your enemies talk during combat. It seems so simple, but it is so important. The reason for this is that D&D combat is at its worst when you completely stop role-playing. What do I mean by this? I think every player has been in a situation where the conversation during combat goes something like this. Yeah, 13 plus 5, 18 to hit. Hit. 9 damage? Cool. Anything else? No? Alright, Dan, your turn. Combat loses all excitement and boils down to who has the best numbers. Now, as a DM, there are things we can do to maintain a player's excitement and attention. One of the most obvious things is to add descriptions into combat. The player and the DM narrate the actions of the characters and the enemies. However, this is basic stuff that you're probably already doing, and if you're not, well, do it. Doing 3rd grade addition and subtraction for an hour isn't fun. And this is where we talk about the advanced tip of making enemies talk in combat. Enemies talking in combat encourages players to stay in the role-playing headspace. If you can keep everyone talking in character, you can keep them thinking in character, which leads to great moments. The way I run it is that talking is a free action for both enemies and players. When one talks, the other can respond. Usually in combat, your talking action can be no more than 2 or 3 sentences, since you are in the middle of a fight. I break enemies talking into 2 separate categories, barks and monologues. A bark is a short sentence that can be thrown anywhere in combat. Get to cover, attack the human, kill them all, being a few examples. These keep players mildly engaged and are also a good way to convey enemy tactics. If an orc shouts, "Don't let that wizard cast another fireball," it tells the wizard player that they are probably going to be targeted. It allows players to make informed tactical decisions. Also, if you need all the enemies to attack one character, it helps to remove the feeling that you, as the DM, are attacking that one player. Narrative context is everything. Additionally, if you want the players to begin responding to these barks, make them questions. Overconfident ones like, "Will you regret dying here?" will make the average player hate the enemies more. Fearful questions like, "How are they so strong?" tend to make players feel powerful. Use these questions when you want them to feel awesome. Finally, you have your joke questions. These are circumstantial but are supposed to add comedy. Enemies being surprised at a weird player ability usually do the trick. Now, the second type of enemy speech is a monologue. Tell me, have you ever tried to have a villain monologue and the players just attack? Your cool speech just went right out the window, right? Wrong. Take your speech and break it into 2 to 3 sentence chunks. Then at the top of your villain's turn, when they strike a player or use a reaction, say a line. If combat is on average 3 rounds, you can easily say a 10-sentence monologue before the combat is done. Your monologue will be more dramatic and filled with narrative weight, since instead of standing around and talking, characters are fighting for their lives. Another way to dispense barks or monologue parts is through legendary actions. A homebrew legendary action I love giving my villains is called Words of Despair. I'll put the actual text on screen, but essentially you're casting the spell Bane on a single target without using a spell. However, this allows for you to get more dialogue in while simulating a silver-tongued villain getting inside the head of the party. Heck, if your villain is sympathetic, they might even begin winning party members over to their side in the middle of combat. So get your enemies talking. It helps with engagement, role-playing, and can give villains some more bite in combat. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Please tell me in the comments what you think. Have any of you done these techniques before? What did you think of them? I want to hear your thoughts. If you want more content like this, maybe subscribe. I am a small channel, and I do want to grow. And also, thank you for entering the dungeon.